Are we
Welcome
live?
back.
Are we live on
We are
Facebook?
live. We are live. Yeah. Welcome back to Grit Gym, guys. I'm Adam Reese, and this is my guest, Artemis. And Artemis, I don't even want to try to pronounce your last name. I know I didn't last time, so I'll just stay away from it because I know I'm just gonna be brutal. But Artemis is the pioneer of the Not Afraid to Lift workshop, which is helping women. It's challenging women in how they treat themselves and how they exercise, how they themselves exercise, and even how they treat other women. Which like when I read through. Once in a while, I'll just read through the comments section on your Instagram stuff, and it's amazing how much like support and it's pretty cool, especially in something that's kind of new. And anyway, Artemis is also the head coach for the Cirque du Soleil in Las Vegas, which means that she works with some of the best athletes on the planet. She's an Iron Maiden. That means that she has done a single leg squat, a one-arm overhead press, and a pull-up with a 24-kilogram kettlebell, which means she's strong. She's an accomplished dancer, and she's just a powerful, beautiful person, and a female really helping others get strong and healthy, improving what a strong body really can do and is for. And Artemis, welcome back to Grid Gym. How's it going?
Thank you, Adam. Thanks for having me on again. Good. Yeah. Everything is good. We're going on vacation tomorrow, so I'm like, today is like wrap up of work, and we're going to Hawaii, so it'll be
cool.
I'm ready for that.
When you go on vacation, the day before vacation for you, is it like you just go crazy for an entire day trying to pack everything in and get everything wrapped up and shoved into suitcases, and then you get to relax, or is it like you kind of ease into the relaxation of the vacation?
It's like the first. Yeah. The first.
Me too.
Yeah. Today and tomorrow before we get on the plane is going to be insane. And then we'll be like, whew, yeah.
Yeah, that's how I am too. Just like trying to just like hammer it as hard as I possibly can. And it's like, oh, wait, why'd I do that?
Yeah.
Well, can you introduce yourself to the Grit Gym Tribe a little bit? I know you did before in the last interview, but kind of tell them a little bit about, what got you going and where you've been before this.
Sure. So I started out in this industry a long time ago, part-time as a spin instructor. That was in 2003. And then I transitioned full-time in 2008.
Cool.
And I started out working in a commercial gym. And then in 2011, I met my now husband, and we started in Boston. We ran that gym for 5 years. And during that time, I started my blog, Iron Body by Artemis. I was training for the Iron Maiden Challenge, and I completed the Iron Maiden Challenge. And then also I should go back to, because what was important too was around the time that I started full-time in this industry was also the year that I got my black belt in Kung Fu, because that was like a huge transitional point in my fitness journey.
That's pretty cool.
Yes. Yep. And then we closed our gym in 2016. My husband is an athletic trainer, and he wasn't able to practice as an athletic trainer while we owned our gym, and he wanted to get back into athletic training. And we were also, you're a gym owner. It's a lot of work. It's really hard to.
It's an insane level of customer service. Yeah, just an insane level of customer service. I mean, like unreal. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was something that we thought perhaps when we first started it that we wanted to do it forever. And then once we got into it, we're like, we don't want to do this forever.
Yeah. Well, there's a natural evolution. There's a natural evolution to any career. So, you did it, and you probably learned a lot, and you probably helped a lot of people, and now you're helping people in a different way.
Yes, it was a really good experience.
Yeah. By the way, guys, if there will be click the link above to get in for Artemis's. Artemis is doing a Not Afraid to Lift workshop at Grit Gym. So you want to get signed up for that, and you can click the link above to do that. But what were you going to say, Artemis? All right. I forgot to get that in earlier.
Do you need the link? I can send it to you.
Yeah, go for it. You can just put it in the comments.
Yes. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll do that. So then in 2016, we shut our gym down, and my husband before that, he had been looking for positions in his field, and he found a position with Cirque du Soleil in Las Vegas as the head therapist for their show Zumanity. And he interviewed for that position. He ended up getting it. So that's what we live in Las Vegas. So that's what took us out to Las Vegas, shut our gym down, moved out here. And when I first moved out here, I had my online training business. And then I ended up applying for a position, a strength and conditioning coach position over at Cirque. And I started out on call there. And then I was assigned the show Ka. I was the dedicated strength coach for Ka. And those were the hours. They have two right here in Las Vegas. They have two full-time positions. And then the rest of the positions are on call part-time.
That's cool.
So the hours were, 9 to 12 hours a week. Yeah. Because they only have, anyway, I won't get into that. It's a whole other thing. Why they set it up that way.
They have all those shows. They're just, they can't, I mean, you have to be so careful with how you're working with these people because they're professionals, like if you get them hurt or you get them too worn out and they screw up during their show, you just it's a huge liability. So there's a lot of pressure on your shoulders.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, then I stepped down from my position at Ka in March. I'm still on call for Cirque, but I stepped down because my online training business, it was growing so much that I wasn't able to handle both.
Sure.
So I'm still connected with Cirque. I'm still on call with them, but I've had to turn my focus completely to my online business and to my workshops, which has been really cool. It's been really really good to do that.
Yeah. And what what led to this anyway? The not afraid to lift. Kind of what started with you putting that message out there in the first place?
That happened the year that I completed the Iron Maiden Challenge, which was 2014. Before I completed the challenge, I was invited. It was my first speaking engagement, actually. I was invited to speak at Crunch Gym, 34th Street, New York City, by Mike Spiegel, if anyone knows Mike Spiegel. That was in April 2014. And he wanted me to come and speak to his staff of trainers. And we got on the topic of, and he wanted me to come and speak to them because I am a female strength coach, and I wrote a lot about, and I had been writing a lot about training for the Iron Maiden Challenge and training for strength and the challenges that come up and body changes and all that. And during that talk, I got to thinking about, in all of my years of being athletic, so I started dancing. I started ballet when I was 3.5 and then moved on to Kung Fu and all that. I was never afraid to lift, but I encountered it more and more and more as a strength coach, but even more when I was lifting heavy to train for the Iron Maiden Challenge, that there are a lot of women who are afraid to lift. And I still encounter it now. I mean, I just like on Saturday, I just had a conversation with a woman who was afraid. She's afraid of strength training because she's afraid that she's going to look like a man. That's not going to happen.
That's like the main thing that we get is we'll even get people. I mean, you've probably gotten it before. Is like people ask you, they always approach it the same way. They're like, how do I avoid looking like a bodybuilder? Like, how do I avoid looking like a Phil Heath or, all these like really, really like, how do I avoid looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger? It's not going to happen. That it takes so much work, especially as women. It just takes so much work for us to put on muscle that in that way that, special diet and special strength program, like you have to be of a certain training age. To reach that. It's like years and years and years cumulative building that muscle. So that year, I started to think about the things that women were afraid about, how their body's going to change. And I would encounter women who were afraid to lift because they just didn't know what to do. So I wrote, which is a great concern. Like everybody should be concerned about, what kind of lifting should I do? How should I do this? What should what my volume, my reps, weight, all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's like all this stuff behind me it's a chainsaw. You're going to give a 6-year-old a chainsaw? No way. So definitely getting somebody to teach you is a huge thing.
Yeah.
But
so
anyway,
so those, so I started to think about that and, oh gosh, I can't remember. I wrote a blog. And so as a result, I ended up writing a blog post. I think it's called Unsexy Training Methods Take Manhattan. I don't know.
No.
I'll have to go back and look. It was like 2014. So I wrote all about this, like all my years. I was never afraid to lift. And then this is what I've learned as a coach, that this is very prevalent. And then I ended up putting together the lift workshop. And I scheduled it before I completed the Iron Maiden Challenge. I have a colleague, Don Saladino. He owns Drive Clubs in New York City. And I asked him, I said, hey, would you want to put on a workshop like this at your gym? And he was like, yeah, that'd be great. So we scheduled it for August of 2014. And then I had a few people sign up, and then I completed the Iron Maiden challenge. And it was like, it was the day before the early bird was going to end. And it was after I completed the Iron Maiden challenge. It was like, right. And I went to bed. I woke up the next morning and I was like looking through my phone. And I was like, oh my God, I ended up like selling the workshop out because
awesome.
It was like, I think because of the Iron Maiden challenge, what happened was people were like, yeah, we want to go to this workshop and we want to learn how to lift and we want to, so that was like, for me, that was a huge turning point for me as a fitness professional and a strength coach. I was like, oh my God, I'm actually making an impact and people actually want to come and learn from me. And so that's how that all got started. And the lift workshop has evolved over the years. Initially, I was teaching specifically the training, the programming that I wrote for myself to complete the Iron Maiden challenge. So I focused on kettlebell training and body weight. And then over the years, it's evolved in terms of just how I've evolved as a strength coach and also as what I've found when women come to the workshop. I found that it went beyond, there were other things that came into play too. So women would come and they would want to learn what to do. And then they would also just want to learn more. They would want to feel more empowered through strength training rather than being afraid of how their bodies were going to. But then also a lot of sharing started to come out and women started to talk about a lot of just mindset challenges that they would have in terms of, feeling ashamed of, for example, in Seattle, I had this woman, she's her background, she's Mexican, and culturally and I experienced this as someone who has Greek heritage. It's not normal, actually not normal, customary, regular for women to lift. I've had comment from Greek men, not on the internet, but like we had a Greek neighbor in Boston who told me once, oh, you're the one who exercises all the time. You lift weights. Greek women don't lift. And so she experienced that same sort of thing, that there is this stereotype that culturally in her culture that it was like not okay for women to be lifting. It wasn't feminine. So, women come to these workshops and they share these barriers that they have, whether it's like a cultural barrier or maybe they had, I've had there was also a woman at this workshop. She just was battling throat cancer. So it was just kind of like she was coming back and just like bouncing back from that. And and then at my Boston workshop this year, I had a woman there who had been so out. She had started her own home care business, and she had been so engrossed in her business that she just hadn't been taking care of herself. And the workshop was a turning point for her to really get back on track with taking care of herself. And so it really impacted her emotionally. So there are things like that come out at this workshop that are related to, mindset, whether it's like body image or whether it's just as women, like we are caretakers and it's just by nature, we put ourselves second and just learning how to put ourselves first and things like that. So there's just so much more that comes out in the workshop. So that has evolved over the years too, to make sure that I'm helping women change whatever negative scripts they might have going on in their minds to positive at the workshop. And then after we moved to Vegas, the other thing that I changed is the practical portion of the workshop, which was I updated it so that it includes barbell lifts. So in the morning, we focus on kettlebell lifts. We'll focus on the kettlebell deadlift, the kettlebell squat, the kettlebell military press, and we dial in all of the technique for the lifts in the morning. And then we also cover the pull-up. Typically, I'll get to the pull-up after lunch, but then after that, then in the afternoon after the pull-up, we'll get into the big three. So we'll get into squat, bench, deadlift, but we've already put so much time into learning the technique in the morning with the kettlebell that there's only just a few tweaks that we have to do in the afternoon with the barbell, and then people can just go to town with the barbell, which is really cool. Yeah. So And we finished with deadlifts, which is also like super empowering for
Yeah.
women to be ripping heavy weight off the floor. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
How much? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, it's just been like a really cool evolution. The workshop is just, it's evolved so much over the 5 years that I've been teaching it. It's cool to see how it's changed.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Yeah, I just saw Don Saladino this weekend. We were at Perform Better, which you should apply to speak at next year. They only had 7 female speakers apply, but they had like 300 or whatever it was male speakers apply. So
well, I did. I spoke for them.
I know that's the first time we met.
2015 and 16, yeah.
Probably something like that, yeah. Because I remember, like, I didn't, like, everybody else, I was like, I don't have anybody. I'll see what this Artemis person is. I didn't know, like, guy, girl. And then, like, there's, like, to me, like, it just being in the crowd, I was like, who's the little tiny thing that, like, little tiny powerhouse up front? Because, like, you guys don't realize is, like, Artemis is probably, like, 5'2".
Not even. I'm like not even 5'1". I'm like 60 and a half inches tall. That's like the biggest thing that people, because it's hard to tell like how tall or big people are on social media. So when people meet me in person, they're like, "You're so small."
But that's the best part is like finding out what kind of numbers you put up, and it's just like because most people are like think women like aren't that strong, you know, like the women can't be that strong. Like, oh, like, I mean, they can be strong, but they can't be strong, you know? And then you have like little tiny you that's ripping up all this weight and throwing it around. And I mean, like a 24 kilogram kettlebell, what is that? That's 52.8 pounds.
Yes.
You know, it's a pretty decent amount of weight to be with one arm throwing it over your head when you're, you know, the size of my pinky. You know? But anyway, I thought your talk there was fantastic, and that's what prompted me to get a hold of you and to do this, because this is to do the social media thing, and then now let's let you come into Grit Gym, which I'm really super excited to have you out.
I am too. It's going to be great.
Yeah, I know that all the women here are super excited about it too. But can you talk like just a little bit about why should a female be strong?
Oh, so many reasons.
I know, but like the whole, even the people who do think, oh, women can be strong, like even the super feminists that are like, women can be strong. Like, I don't know if they realize kind of the level that like strength adds impact into one's life. You know, like my mom's like in her mid 60s or something like that. And she started lifting 10 years ago. And like before, like 2 months before she turned 60, she deadlifted 260 pounds for 4 reps. Yeah, she would have never thought that was possible. You know, that's like insane. She's little too. She's like a little tiny lady, and it's just like kind of weird. But people don't think like that. Like you're that strong.
Yeah. Well, so I think. Well, first of all, I think it starts with, as women, we're constantly told what our bodies should look like, and if our bodies don't match this mold, then we should be ashamed of what our bodies look like. So
like self-shame, like you should shame yourself for not looking the way that you should.
Right. For not looking like, there's this Mary Pfeiffer. She is a psychologist, and she writes, gosh, I can't remember, Reviving Ophelia. Okay. And there's another book that she wrote. But anyway, in the 90s she wrote it, but it's still, the things that she writes about are still, unfortunately, they're still relevant today. And she talks about what the images that we as women see for the most part, and it's getting better now, but what we see like in the magazines or what we see like in retail, it's typically like the torso of a young boy, or it's not even like a woman's body. It's like they take these different pieces that make an unrealistic body type. And so then there we are comparing ourselves to this body, and it's a body that's not even found in nature.
Yeah, and that woman doesn't even look like that.
Exactly. There's no woman that looks like that.
Yeah, like she doesn't, like even the model in that picture has been like photoshopped and augmented, and you know, her boobs are a little bit bigger, her skin is softened, you know, her, you know, whatever, she's lengthened, whatever it happens to be. Like she doesn't even look like that.
Like, do you remember like 3 or 4, maybe it was like 4 years ago, there was this Cindy Crawford. I don't know if you saw this. They did Cindy Crawford there was some picture of Cindy Crawford, and they had completely retouched the whole photo to take out all of her skin imperfections, so that she didn't look like a mom, like she had children, and so then the 2 different images came out. And
cool.
like, so Cindy didn't even look like, this is what she looks like, but then this is what everyone's seeing. So then women are comparing themselves to the photo touched, the retouched image, and then we feel ashamed because we don't look like that. Because you know what? No woman looks like that. No, most women, everyone looks like, you know, the untouched, right? The unretouched image. So number one is strength training. It helps women to get their focus away from what they look like and help them to focus on what they can do. So it helps you to focus on performance goals. It helps you to feel empowered through your capabilities rather than feeling ashamed because your body doesn't measure up to some unrealistic expectations that society and the media puts forth to us. So that's number one. And it's huge. And it happens, you know, and I understand that a lot of times women get into exercise or strength training, gosh, like 10 times out of 10, even if women get into strength training because they have an aesthetic goal, as soon as they do something incredible performance wise, they don't even care about that anymore. They only care about how much more they can lift, or what's the next thing that they can do. Can they deadlift, or can they work towards this pull up, or whatever it is. And so that's like number one. That's so important.
You just change the focus around. It's amazingly powerful. Because like that's like, what are you capable of in the first place versus, that's fantastic. Okay. What's number two?
And then number two, you know, so I'm 43 years old. So as we get older.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I was born in 1976.
That sucks because I look older than you by a lot.
So, and this is strength training is the fountain of youth. No.
It really is, though. It really is.
To that.
IGF-1, human growth hormone, you know, like,
Right. Being in my 40s, it's super important to make sure that I continue to maintain muscle mass, because we start to lose muscle mass after age 30. We start to have a decline. It might even be sooner than that. So it's important as women and men too, but particularly women, that we maintain muscle mass. It helps to keep our metabolism. So strength training is going to help us to do that. It's going to help us to not just stay strong, but also maintain our metabolism, and it'll help with hormone balance and stress, and then it prevents osteoporosis. So like there's a lot of health reasons why we should lift.
The health reasons are staggering. I mean, like you look at the women who have strength trained over long periods of time, you know, decades and decades, and they're, you know, in their 60s and 70s and 80s now. It's phenomenal how they look, for one, and how their skin, and, you know, it's amazing how far it really goes. But from the emotional side of things, like I see the same thing as you. It's one of my favorite things when a female will rip a weight off not that, like, I don't set them up for failure. I don't put a weight in front of them that I don't think that they can do. That'd be silly, right? But when they build up to a certain number, and then you acknowledge it, you're like, by the way, you started at 95 pounds when you weighed 185, and now we're down to 155 pounds, and you just lifted 185 pounds off the ground. Like that's what you used to weigh. Like the emotion that comes out of their face, and the realization is just, I've seen a woman like realize how strong she really is and how far she's really come. It's just it's a really cool thing to watch.
And with that, if women can feel empowered through what they're doing in the training room, that carries over outside into real life. That gives women, they feel capable and they feel confident outside the training room. It helps them to, ask for that raise, or just run a business, or feel capable as a mom, and just all those things. So that's why those are the primary reasons why it's important for women to strength train.
Yeah, totally. The amount of the mindset stuff that comes out of it, like, I've never figured out a good way to put this, but it's such a good medium for how you end up thinking. You know, it's like you negotiate what you can and can't do. And you figure out that and then there's times when, like, you can just see it on people's faces when they think they can't do something. And they're like, well, I'll try it anyway. And then they end up doing it.
Yeah. And I talked about that at the workshop, in that in training, we have what's called mastery experiences. And those mastery experiences are successes in training. And every time you have a success in training, that builds self-efficacy. So self-efficacy is knowing that you can do it, that intrinsic knowing, whatever it is. So the more mastery experiences you have, the bigger the library of your mastery experiences, the more self-efficacy you're going to have. And that applies in the training room and outside the training room. So even if it's something you've never ventured to do before, if you have this whole library of successes in training, then you're like, you know what, I think I can do that, even though I've never done it before. But I know I've had success doing things that I wasn't sure I was going to be able to do, or I've never done before, and I did them. And so I think I can do that.
Yeah, I think that's a huge thing too. I think we really undervalue that just as a whole, like across all of maybe not all of humanity, but in like the United States, so we do that a lot. Is where we it's like we give pity points away instead of holding people to a higher, you know, like saying like, no, you can do it, like getting that idea through your head that you can. Oh no, are we frozen? Shit. No cussing on this show. That's not true.
Oh, Adam, I lost you.
Where's the notes? Well, guys, you're getting in on a fun spot where Artemis and I lost the connection here for a little bit, but let's see which one is working and which one isn't. Guys, can you hit in the comment section and hit a share so that more people can see this interview, so that more people can sign up for Artemis's workshop, because Artemis's workshop is going to be absolutely fantastic. You definitely want to be there for it. It's going to be on, what we say, November 21st, I think it is, and it'll be an all-day event. We'll put a link up here pretty soon, but it's going to be absolutely fantastic. Artemis in person is not exactly what you'd expect. Let's see if I can pull up a, what should I say? Let's say, what do you guys think that Artemis should do to hop back on? Maybe? Can you guys hear us on, can you put it in the comments? Okay, there we go. September 21st. Did I say November 21st? I probably did. September 21st. It's going to be an all-day event. Can you guys put in the comments if you can hear us? And
okay, there we go. I don't know what happened.
It's all your fault, and I'm going to hold it against you forever.
I'm going to send you the Lyft link in the chat. I don't know how to add it to the comments, but anyway, okay. So maybe you can put it in there. Okay. Anyway, so I'm sorry. I don't know what happened.
Unacceptable. There. Now it's in the comments. Okay. They could hear us both the whole time. I heard you say shit, so it was super unprofessional.
Sorry.
No, I'm kidding.
There are other words. It's good. I could have said something else though.
No, every once in a while we'll have like a grandma come in and she'll be like, "Oh shit, I messed that up," and she'll be like ashamed of herself and she'll be like, "Oh, I can't believe I just said that," and it's like shit, ass, damn, you know, like whatever. Okay. Everything's fine. Like who cares? Nah, it's good. Where were we?
We were talking about building self-efficacy and how it's important to have those successes in training because they carry over to your life outside the training room.
Yeah. Well, I mean, along with that, like why women? Why not focus on male or female? Like why hone in on this one demographic?
I think, well, in my opinion, being a woman, I think that we encounter a lot more challenges in society and in culture than men do. It is definitely a male-dominated society, and it's also based on the challenges that I experienced.
Yeah.
So I spent 23 years of my life taking ballet, dancing in ballet. I went to the Boston Ballet, and I was in their Nutcracker. I used to go to their summer camps and all that. And although ballet is beautiful and I love it, there were a lot of things that I encountered that were not so beautiful in terms of, and a lot of things that I saw, especially getting into starting around age 11 up to like 14, you see, because that's when, our women's bodies changes. And so you'll see we were, as young girls, we were criticized for how our bodies were changing in ballet, and especially if they didn't fit the mold that they wanted it to fit. And so I saw a lot of women fall to eating disorders. I myself experienced periods of time where I had disordered eating, and that lasted all the way into my 20s. And and there were just things that were, I was told when I was 11 years old by an instructor. I was going to the Boston Ballet, and I had been out with the stomach flu for a week, and I had been vomiting all week, and I had lost weight as a result. And I came back to ballet, and my instructor looked at me and she said, "Artemis, you've lost weight." I was 11, by the way. And I said, "Yes, I've been out sick with the stomach flu." She said, "Oh, you should keep it off." So I told my mother.
It's quite the thing to say.
And I told my mother, and she was like, "That's it. We're like taking you out of this. We're not doing this." And then of course I was like, "But I want to be Clara." I wanted to stay because I wanted to be Clara in the Nutcracker. And I was like on my way to that. And she was like, "Oh," she's like, "1 more year. We'll do so yeah. But point being that I'm sure there are many women out there who have had things like this said to them,
Yeah, I'm not a female, so I don't know. That's why, I ask questions. I work with a lot of females, but I've never been a woman. But just some of the implications that women put on women, and that society just in general put on women. And then I think males are trying, I think we're me as a male, I'm trying.
Mm-hmm.
Once in a while.
I'm not discounting that men haven't, don't have challenges too. I'm sure.
Oh yeah, everybody does. But I was just kind of curious, kind of what I was mostly curious what you come up with from that question more than anything. I think that's, why do we ask questions in the first place? But if I didn't know if working with women was more fun or if it was just different, because that's what I find. Working with moms is so much fun. They pick up after themselves. They're super helpful. They appreciate you way more than, not that non-moms don't. It's just, it's like, there's just a difference. I don't know what it is. Moms and grandmas, they're tough for one.
I will say, and this is something that is not just something that I noticed, but also my husband noticed when we were running our business. One thing is that women listen.
Yeah.
Men don't listen, but women, they will listen and they will try hard, and they're just like, "Okay, I'm going to do it this way." And so it just,
and dudes are like, it's like they expect themselves to already know what you're teaching.
Yes. Yeah. And that's a huge generalization, because I'm sure there's dudes out there but that was generally what the general consensus of what we found when we were running our gym. It was
I agree. But you're not going to get away from generalizations either. That's kind of the political correctness stuff, where it's just kind of like on some level I'm like, okay. And on some level I'm like, settle down. Just stop. At some point it just gets a little too crazy, because you just at some point you can't talk because you're so scared that you're going to say something bad. But do you notice any specific things that really hold women back, that you end up kind of a recurring theme in your workshops, where you're like a woman will say, obviously have kind of an obstacle that she's setting in front of herself?
Most of the time it's confidence. It's fear of failing.
Oh, sure.
Fear
of a tough one, because that's a paradox, right?
Yeah.
You're never actually going to get good at it if you don't screw up a few times.
Right. Fear of being embarrassed. For example, this my Seattle workshop this year, there was this one woman, she admitted that. So at the end of the workshop, people, maybe I shouldn't give away too much, but at the end of the workshop, I ask people, please share one thing that you've learned today. And this one woman, she shared that she was completely new to strength training, and she almost didn't show up. She almost didn't come to the workshop because she was afraid that she was going to feel even more insecure than she already did about strength training, because she might be around other people who are just so much more capable than her, or afraid that she was going to be in an environment that wasn't supportive, or afraid of failing. But she said that she was so glad that she showed up, because it was such an uplifting experience for her, and she learned so much, and it was such a great community. And so that almost held her back from even showing up. And then I'll even see that. And that's extreme. I'll see that even when it comes to lifts, the women are afraid, they avoid rather than approach. right? So it's
Sure.
all about learning how to approach more and avoid less, and not allowing fear to take over and take your power away.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's essentially what you're doing, is you're letting fear take your power away if you're avoiding it. It's like, no, like, yes, we all have these fears, but be brave.
Yeah.
But be brave and face that fear
totally.
and approach more. And then you'll be happy with the results. I'm sure you're going to be ecstatic from the results.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead. That's the thing about fear, is just like nobody's fearless. You know, like it's not about not being afraid when you show up to the thing. It's about like facing the fear that you do have.
Yes.
You know, is it like, you're not going to get less scared. You're only going to get more courageous. Right. So
exactly.
And do you find like maybe that is one of like maybe an intentional or unintentional results of doing your workshop, is that women being around other women, like they're a little less, or a little bit more, what word did you use? They're a little bit more willing to approach a challenging setting with a bunch of other females that are supporting them around them, than if there was dudes, and like if there's this crowd of like, whatever you want to call it, like questionable, not as certain, I guess. I don't know what word I'm going for there, but
having a woman only environment, having a man in the environment, it changes the dynamic. So when it's woman only, it helps so much to allow women to feel this freedom to be courageous and to face their fears. And then with that, there's more connection that happens too. And as humans, I mean, that's what we crave. We want like human connection. We want to feel like we can relate to one another, and we can connect. And so once they're able to overcome that fear and be courageous and have success, once they do, then there's even more connection that happens. And so throughout the day, this community builds off of that cycle.
Yeah. That's probably one of the coolest parts as you go through it. It's like the first 15 minutes, nobody knows well, maybe some people know each other, but for the most part, the people don't know each other. And then by the end of the day, they've gone through something together.
Yes.
You know, they've grown a bond, or whatever you want to call it. Pretty cool.
Yeah, it is cool.
Yeah. And then like just a few, like who shows up to these anyway? Because this is one of the things, I didn't actually have this written down. But you said someone showed, like a woman showed up that didn't have any strength training experience. I think most people that are watching this are probably like, the only people who fit that demographic are probably thinking, the only people who show up to an event like this are
already know what they're doing.
Really experienced powerlifters, and they've deadlifted every day for the last 10 years, and they have 6 packs and shoulders galore. And, you know, are those the people that show up, or is it the 62-year-old young grandma who is curious but has never done it?
I'll get a range of that. So I'll get people who have never lifted before, or they just started to strength train. I had one woman, her background was in running, and actually it was my workshop in Seattle was the first time. This is a different woman than the woman who almost did not show up. This woman had never swung a kettlebell before, so she swung a kettlebell for the first time at my workshop.
Very cool.
There were women who had kettlebell background but had never worked with the barbell before.
Yeah.
So it's a wide, and then there were instructors. Then there were like strong first instructors there who had worked with kettlebell and barbell. So I'll get a wide range. So women who have never worked with kettlebells before, never worked with barbells before, maybe just started strength training, and then more experienced lifters. And everyone learns, and I teach all of the lifts from the ground up. So even if there are experienced people there, they're going to learn the grip, the lift from the ground up. Yeah. And they end up learning, even if they've been lifting for a long time, they still learn something new from it.
Well, yeah. How far can you take the depth of your understanding? You know, like one of the things we go over is how to grip the bar. You know, like everybody knows how to grab a bar, but how do you grip the bar to get your hand on it? Like how far can you really take the basics?
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's definitely like leave your ego at the door. It's like a very comfortable environment. So it doesn't matter if you have a little experience or a lot of experience. And beyond the lifting portion, there's, mindset exercises that we do, that we work on together, that, everyone is on the same level about. And that helps to bring everyone together as well.
That's fantastic. Yeah. That was one of my questions, actually. It was just like with the world where it is today, you watch the news and it doesn't matter which station you watch. Like whether you're watching Fox, CNN, NBS, NBC, it just seems like there's so much like combative kind of language. And it sounds like this is one of those places you can go that are just like, you're just going to bathe in positivity and support, which I could not be more supportive for.
Yeah. And it's not like, so, and also it's not like we're hanging around in a peace circle, like holding hands.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, no, you're in Grit Gym. So I mean, like when I say that, like when I say like safe space and stuff, like what I'm really meaning, like we want to create like a
space to share. Like if you want to, it's a safe space to share. It's a safe space to admit, your fears. It's a safe space to admit, like, oh, I don't know that. I want to learn that. That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm totally agreeing with you. Yeah, I made it almost sound like too soft. Yeah, because like we want to create a space where people like feel safe to express and explore who they really are. But that's not about like being easy and staying inside your little bubble. That's about like hammering,
right,
and really going hard. But what's the link is? It's not Iron Body. It's the link is in the comment section, but it's also going to be above here pretty soon. I got to hop off because I'm going to have a client here pretty soon.
Okay. And you can go to my website too, which is ironbodybyartemis.com. And if you just go over to upcoming workshops, it'll be there too.
Yeah. So September 21st, Artemis is here for the Not Afraid to Lift workshop. Definitely go click the link above and get signed up there. And whether you're just beginning or you're an experienced individual, you're going to get a ton out of this. I'm positive. So.
Thanks, Adam. I'm excited. It'll be great.
Yeah, it will be. All right. Thank you very much.
All right. I'll talk to you later.
See ya.
Bye.